Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
PremierBilliards.com. Exceptional cues, cases, and accessories from top-tier brands. Want it? Need it? Find it. PremierBilliards.com.
Well, Pinozzo, there better be a pretty good reason why you got me out of here, or up here.
Well, for us, for most of us working stiffs, 8 o'clock in the morning I've been here for an hour.
Well, usually I do get up pretty early, although I still haven't recovered from like the last 3 months, so my schedule's been a little off. Now I'm getting up like at 7:30
it's worth getting up early today because really early today there was some big news. Plus, we've got World Pool Masters matches going on as we speak. They've already started. They don't wait for us to get up. No. So a lot going on.
I'm going looking and seeing what time matches are starting. I look over at the Matchroom socials. I'm flooded with Reyes Cup announcements, and then I remember, wait a minute, there's a tournament going on. Let me see, what time everything starts. When that starts, little do I know, one match is already done for the day. A second one, the gentleman's on the hill. The gentleman that you picked to win it all in Koping Chung. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's been an exciting morning, Mike. The Reyes Cup, it's here. It's no longer imminent. It's happening, buddy.
It is happening. October in Manila. What are the dates? I thought you had the graphic up.
17. Oh, actually, I probably should have had it queued up. Actually, no. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, pal. Let me see if I can pull this up here while I scramble.
Yeah, no, but it's exciting news of something that we all know they've been working on, and that's why they haven't really. We know Emily's mentioned it a million times. They don't like to announce something or really talk heavily about something until the ink is dry. And so the ink must be dry on the contract with Puyat Sports in the Philippines as a partner with Matchroom on this event.
Right.
Team Asia versus the reigning Moscone Cup champs, whoever that happens to be. In this case, it will be Team Europe, which leads to all sorts of questions and all sorts of what ifs and what happens. So, here we go, October 17th to the 20th.
What do you think? What do you think, Mike? As far as players involved, obviously we can't speculate too much because there's still a whole season left to be had as it pertains to the Asian players. But when it comes to the Europeans, we were kind of under the same impression that winners of the Moscone Cup has always been the verbiage that's been used, which would lead me to believe it'd be last year's team.
Yeah, you would kind of think it would be because this year's team isn't going to be finalized by October 17th, correct? Or will it? I'm trying to, I'd have to take a look and see.
Shouldn't. I don't think it would be.
This would be after Hanoi, right?
Oh, maybe it will be. Maybe it will be.
So, there's a possibility that it could be, but it sounds like if it's the reigning Moscone Cup champs, it would be the previous team. It would be the same if the reigning Moscone Cup champ was Team USA. That team, those 5 players, will have earned a right to face Team Asia. Okay, so let's assume that it's going to be last year's Team Europe. Is Ralph the captain?
Oh man, you had to go there. Not even 5 minutes in, you have to go there.
Well,
technically, if you want to get specific, it says last year's team. Last I checked the roster, last year's team included a captain in Ralph Eckert. So,
well, does that mean then the Team Europe, Team Asia would have a captain or a playing captain? So it's there's just a lot of different questions that can pop up.
Indeed, and we're gonna get some answers. We're gonna get. Emily came on yesterday, Mike. As you know, you were here. It was a great interview. I really enjoyed it because it was just full of it was good energy. It was really on your toes the entire time. The 35 or so minutes just kind of flew by. But in that conversation, she said, once it comes out, I'll be willing to come back on and we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, man,
Well,
do I have
that
the
day has
questions?
arrived, Mike.
Do I have the questions lined up for her? Hopefully, it'll be tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's there's just tons of questions, and it's all good. It's just, well, like, I want details. I'm a details guy. Tell me how this is all going to work out. Where is it going to be held? We saw. I sent you a photograph that someone had posted of what do we got there?
Meanwhile, Ko Ping Chung advances to the round of
Okay,
8. Yeah.
so there was a photo of Emily in the one arena in Manila where they held the Thrilla in Manila fight years ago. That couldn't be coincidence. So, there's all those details that we're going to be dying to hear from, hopefully get from Emily tomorrow. And,
Well,
it's just fun stuff to talk about.
bet the farm it's going to be in the Philippines. It just has to be in its inaugural year, especially, to be able to be out there and in the motherland and, given the name and Reyes Cup and all that. So,
Yeah. No, I guarantee it's going to be in Manila. If they've already announced a partnership with Puyat Sports. Puyat's not banking, a partnership into this event and holding it in, Taiwan or Vietnam or something like that. That's not going to happen. So, it could be just a ton of fun. You imagine Efren's involved at some level,
right.
whether it's just figurehead, whether it's team captain. Playing captain is a juicy option. It'd be a little bit of a stretch but it's, this is an event. This is a happening. So you're going to want to use Efren, as leverage the best you can.
They mentioned 5 spots in total, obviously, just like the Moscone Cup selection process is similar as well, Mike. 3 based off of points, 2 wild cards. Kind of interesting because you got Yap up top, who she mentioned yesterday.
Yep.
I'll be perfectly honest. Yap looked like he couldn't run his way out of a paper bag on that table with that cloth and those conditions. It just it makes me a little. I don't want to say worried the phrase, but worried would be the phrase because it's these guys ain't gonna have any experience playing on stuff like that, Mike, at all.
Well, it's there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time to go between now and then. The one kind of advantage the team Asia will get out of this is that if it is a points thing leading up to the Reyes Cup, I don't know what they'll use as a cutoff for that, but you're going to have guys. You're going to have the 5 guys who are in the best stroke theoretically, right, based on points. Whereas Team Europe, if you're going with last year's team, you could have a player or two that just for the last 9 months hasn't hit a ball straight, but they still earned their spot on the team, right?
So
That's a possibility.
That's a very, very fair point for sure. And it could be that way. I think we know where we would kind of like put guys in the hierarchy when it comes to the European team from last year. But, if you look at performance wise, listen, I'll be honest with you. David and a Jason, 2 guys who I'd probably put on the low end of that totem pole when it comes to the European players. Meanwhile, they're the guys at the top of the rankings. Well, David is, and Jason's got all the momentum in the world,
right.
Here in May. So it's early days for sure. But now it just kind of makes sense of everything we've been seeing the last 6 months plus, right? You see a guy like Feliciano travel to the U.S. You see guys who have been staying on the WNT tour who we have not seen play these type of events prior to, right? So you got to think that they probably got a bit of a heads up. Hey, listen, this is probably more than likely going to happen. This is the way you're going to be able to get on as far as an automatic. And now you got these guys who would be sitting kind of pretty like a Yap, who if you look at online on the Matchroom Pool website, he's got a pretty nice little cushion there.
Well, you know what? We've talked about it yesterday, and it's good. That same is going to hold true for Team Asia. Saudi Arabia in June changes everything.
Oh, you think it's going to be just packed full of Asian and Filipino players?
I mean, the Asians, you look at the big events, the Asians have been 4 out of the final 8, in most of these events. So If you got 4 Asians in the final 8,
But it's usually a European Sunday though.
yeah, no,
Consistently.
but on the is if you're talking about points for Team Asia, if you're trying to earn points from Team Asia, you're an Asian player who makes the final 8 or the final 4 in
Lock that
Saudi
up.
Arabia,
Lock it
you
up.
lock up a spot, 100%. So that's where someone can come out of the blue and steal one of those spots by grabbing a $40,000, $30,000, $250,000, you know, point cushion, so to speak.
Look, there's
And someone mentioned it here, and they're right. Team Europe could be markedly different from the Reyes Cup to the 2024 Moscone Cup. Could be 2 completely different teams, except for Jason.
I think it might have to be, because here's one side of the argument, Mike, is that let's say the Asian players go in there in Manila and beat them like they stole something, Mike. Now, what does that do to the Moscone Cup come December? Does it still have the
Europe
same?
mad.
It does, but it also, if it is the same team, it gives them some seasoning. And if it is the same team, which you brought up yesterday,
yeah, it's what it does for Moscone. I don't think it has any kind of adverse effect on Moscone Cup. I don't think if Team Europe got drubbed, all of a sudden Moscone Cup looks like 2 farm teams playing each other. The Moscone Cup will always have its own persona, its own air about it. It will have its own special, that's why we talked about this a little bit yesterday too. The American fans, they're going to be buying tickets left and right, 40 to crack for Florida. So it doesn't matter whether you've lost 10 years in a row. It's a different animal. It's a road show that everybody wants to be part of, win or lose. So will the Reyes Cup be that from day one? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how that turns out in Philippines. Will it have that same type of, real adversity and real, rivalry, that type of thing? Or will that take a little bit of time to build up?
Big shout out to my man Shane Thompson. Was out there at the Ultimate Pool event. Became a really big fan of that guy and the way that he plays pool. Such a nice touch on the cue ball, playing that. A big fan. Listen, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna say an opinion. It may not be the most popular one, but
that doesn't sound like you.
I don't think any of my opinions are too popular anyway. But I think that in its opening year, the hell with automatic picks, Mike. Give me 5 wild cards. Give me 5 wild cards.
And pick a team Asia.
Yes, handpick them. I think it's got to be very specific because listen,
they certainly could do that.
What you said could very well happen, but be careful what you wish for. And what I mean by that is, if you there's players who can go and earn their spot based off of merit, and there's always going to be a place for that going forward.
You could have someone like Dang.
You could have a guy like Dang,
and all of a sudden he's on your Reyes.
But does it get the same like in that first?
That's what I'm saying. So you're right. That could happen. So would it be something? Should they consider handpicking the first Team Asia? I think it's actually a pretty cool idea.
Give me Carlo. Give me the Cole brothers. Give me. I'm missing 18 people. Give me Wu if we can get them.
They're gonna they'll have to be 2 Filipinos.
Yeah, of course. But then you're leaving off a co-brother. If you put on 2 Filipinos, you're leaving off a co-brother.
I wouldn't leave off a co-brother. I'd take 2 co-brothers, a Filipino and either a Taiwanese or Chinese.
Hold on. So you're leaving Vietnam now, the biggest event of the year. You're leaving out that market, Mike. Come on now. Come on. This is what I mean. It's gonna get hairy. It's gonna become.
I would pick the players, not the country at that point. You're just going to be coming out of Vietnam with the Hanoi Open. So you're going to have done your job in Vietnam already. So I wouldn't pick based on what's the sexiest Team Asia team you can launch this event.
I think there's a balance that you can have there, but this is what I'm saying. I think in its first year, you ought to go and have
the co-brothers are like Sanchez Ruiz and Alcade. They got to come as a pair. Have to.
Look, we don't need BOGO offers around here, Mike. We don't need buy one, get one. And listen, I think the comparison.
Well, it's a little bit different in whether or not they both deserve to be there.
It is, but listen, you can really start nitpicking there because look at outside of a World Pool Masters victory, who would say is the most like decorated co-brother over the last,
Oh,
4
little
years
Co for
by
sure.
a mile. But
Yeah.
they're like it's not that close for me.
No, but
Meaning
how
that
many
meaning
other Asians you pick over Big Co in any event?
well,
Not a
that's a good
ton.
point. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, listen, he's a 1A player. The 1% of the
Yeah.
1%, 100%. But in its first year, see, look at Raymond's comment there: Beato, Moranis, Raga, and Co brothers. I would not put Anton in there, although I think
Yeah,
he's
I
a great
wouldn't either at
player.
this point.
I wouldn't. He ain't even on my short list.
Yeah.
James
He's got
maybe only because he won the World Cup of Pool, but outside of that, I wouldn't put James on there in his first year.
Yeah, he was
Personally.
semifinals last year in the Whirlpool Masters.
Oh,
Um,
okay. There
but
you
that's
go.
about but
Yeah.
that as far as the you know winning getting high in a big open event, not great. Ed mentions Chang.
But if
Chang's
you
days
go
are
based off
done.
of, yeah, no, Chang ain't making that team. I hate to
Yeah,
break. It's
his
hard, but
his days are over.
no, I wouldn't go that far. Relax, Mike. Relax. But I wouldn't go that far. But he ain't one of them in a long time, in a real long time.
He got close in a
Never
long time.
mind.
Got close in a long.
Mike's coming in. Mike's coming in hot and heavy. But listen, there's a list of 10 to 15 Filipinos, like Lompot says, that you can have a serious debate about. You know, you can all those names you had there. Feliciano was the best Filipino player over the WNT tour last year.
I think also you really want to be, if you're trying to put together your best team, you want the first time you do this, I think you want 5 Asian players who are used to and have shown they can play on a big stage. Okay. I'm not putting Feliciano into my first Moscone Cup.
But you'll put some random Asian player who gets into a final weight that you ain't never heard of before.
No, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you. They should kind of hand pick it. And if I did
Okay.
hand pick it, I would not put in some guy who, is the flavor of the day in the Philippines, whether it's Feliciano or Regulario or any of these kind of up and comers. I would go with proven talent. That's why I would take 2 co-brothers in a minute. I would take Beato in a minute. And
Beato would be snap call, Mike.
yeah, right.
Beato might be my captain if you can't give me Afrin, give me Beato as my captain.
Yeah.
You know, he's a killer through and through.
Yeah.
And if you were to go through and ask whether it's Filipino fans, Asian fans, American fans, European fans, who do and players, go ask players, who they respect more than most. Carlo is right
Carlos
there
up
at the top
there.
of that list.
Yeah.
Carlo
What
is
about
right there.
Shashin Wu?
I mean, that's what I when I think about this event, Mike. That's who I
Yeah.
would hope would be on that team since the beginning, since that idea
Yeah.
first had a little seed up here. And when I
2
first
co-brothers,
saw around,
Beato, Shashing Wu, and
how
Stevie
sick would
Wonder,
that
and
be,
you got a
Mike?
pretty good team.
You might be able to jump on the table if you're on that team, Mike. So
Unfortunately.
they're that deep. But listen, if you throw in and we're just assuming that you can't that we're not going to have Wu because we ain't seen him really play much, right? But if he were to make that team, I wouldn't be mad at that.
No, if
But
he
this is
unless
what I
he's
mean when
got
it
2
comes to
broken
hand
arms, I'd
picking.
put him on.
Yeah. But see, like this is what I'm saying when it comes to hand picking, because right now you got Yap sitting atop of the rankings, which they mentioned in their press release, right? And I get it, off of marriage, you've been traveling around, you want to reward guys to some extent, but man, Mike, it's deep. It's
Have
real deep.
have him if hand pick it and have him as your number 5 by being the number 1 guy.
What do you mean?
Well, if you're in hand pick it but you still don't want to, shit on a guy who's gone around the world and played all these events and has earned his spot, give you up the 5th spot with the 2 co-brothers, Beato and Wu.
Golly, man, we're gonna have this. Just added a whole new level of debate on the show for the next 5 months, Mike. Now, Mike,
I know.
you've been covering the sport for a long time. Did you think we'd get here?
When they first mentioned it, yeah, I thought that eventually is an additional event, replacing the Moscone Cup, I always argued, no, that would never happen. People just never got it that the Moscone Cup doesn't
Yeah,
need
I don't think
the
that's
U.S.
any.
to win all the time for it to be the Moscone Cup. So
No, man.
that's
Fans
its own.
still want to see it, Mike. They do.
Right.
I'm
So,
excited to
so
go this December. I've gotten a lot of messages from fans in like in packs, saying I want to go to Orlando. I'm excited
yeah,
to go. Me
yeah,
and 20 of my friends want to go over there.
yeah.
You know,
So yeah, it's. I did think that they would eventually get this done. I'm anxious to see 5 years from now what it looks like. It could be huge. It could be really. It could add a whole different element to, because everybody loves team play anyways. It's a ton of fun. Um, you know, so it's going to be great. They're going to do a first class job between Matchroom coming down there with all their team and their expertise, and the Puyats and the Philippine contingent, trying to make this thing huge. It's going to be big time. Now, there's there's just it's funny because there's so many questions that every time you bring up a point, it feeds another question, right?
like
So is
like
it is the Reyes Cup always going to be in the Philippines, or will it move around Asia? Is the Reyes Cup going to be alternate years, and how does the alternate years work when you got three teams involved? Right? Because you have Team USA win one year, Team Europe win Moscone Cup the next year, Team 8. Which direction are they going? So there's just a lot of weird. When you add a third wheel to it, it changes a lot of little dynamics.
look, I think
Like I said, Team Europe could be completely different in October and December.
you've seen a lot of Asian countries make a strong push as far as wanting to put on events on this tour, Mike. Like Hanoi, right? Imagine that type of crowd times on steroids. You know what I mean? Like times 10, right?
But
Cheering on.
here's the thing with that is that if it's year 2, year 3, year 4, whatever, and you're going to take it to Hanoi, and by then it's a merit-based system, you might not have a Vietnamese player in there.
He'll get in on wild cards. I promise you that.
Well, then,
You know,
yeah, if then it's kind of forcing that wild card pick on you.
which I'm not. Listen, I'm okay with. It's a business at the end of the day, Mike. And this
Yeah,
is
it is.
listen,
It's an
look,
event. It's an event.
with you introduce a country like China, Mike, right? Throwing around a lot of money when it comes to hayball and other things in Q sports, right? You get an event like this to take off, it could be a game changer, Mike, for a lot of players.
Yeah.
Not just Matchroom. I think for once, like, listen, we all love the Moscone Cup, but this is going to be like competitive, at least when it comes to a betting line, as you can ever get, because you're going to have match by match excitement, right? People wanting to fire and fire heavy on each side, and they've been known to gamble a little bit out in the Philippines, Mike. Okay, in case you didn't know,
They're going to have a whole row of booths outside the arena with.
they're gonna be calling out. Hold on, don't lag yet. We're gonna
Yeah,
you.
they're going to be walking up with their
Yeah,
pieces of chocolate
yeah.
right on the edge of the
Okay.
table and stuff.
Okay. That's how I'm telling you, Mike. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get a lot of action, and it's gonna be
Hey,
competitive.
they may make it like to bring some atmosphere in there. There may be some like chicken and stuff running around the arena while the guys are shooting.
Mike,
they may do
look,
some of that Filipino stuff there.
I'm watching. I was out playing pool last night, way too late, way past my bedtime because I don't like staying out too late, and I regret it already because I forgot all about doing this early morning show. But as I'm there at the pool room and I'm watching the TV a little bit while my opponent is running out on me, I notice on the basketball game you got like live odds, Mike. Right? You got live odds. You got live.
Right.
You got live point spread odds. You got a live money line odd. You know what I mean? You can have player prop odds. Mike, you can get into that level of gambling when it comes to pool, Mike. You know what I mean? You can do it by the game. You can do it by match. You can do it in the match, live in match, right? Let's say they're down 2-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I said, they've been known to gamble. Been known to gamble over there. So I'm just excited to see what level of degenerate behavior is going to come out of this, while still maintaining its professionalism. I think it's a game changer for sure for a lot of different players. And I'm especially happy for thinking about these young Filipino players who have such promise, who now have a real opportunity to make some money. You know, if they travel within their region, and you get a chance like this, you know, who knows what it could do for your life. You know, and so
Yeah.
I love the idea of it, and I'm excited. I'm with you. I think it's going to be great how they make it all come together. And this is something the fans have been barking and complaining about for years. So I'm with you. I think it's the production and the effort that's going to go into it is going to be second to none. You know, they're not going to get any sleep for the next
Yeah, no, it's
five
gonna be great.
months with all the events they got on there, Mike. And when I was reading the press release and seeing, I go on Matchroom's page, and I'm looking through the posts and reading some of the comments, and then in reading those comments, I see my buddy Stewie, WPA Stu, right? Guys, we can't get to come. Guys, we can't get to
Tell
say
me, pray tell, what does
anything.
Stewie have to say?
He didn't. He could not get these guys to say anything on the record for the life of them, right? Because at least you'll get a return when it comes to your message. I can't even get that these days. Shocking. But reading Stewie's comments, Mike, he says, and I'm paraphrasing here. He says, "Great, it's great that it's right on top of 2 world championships." And so I go and I look at the WPA
Oh, come
calendar.
on. Is it on top of the events in Venezuela?
It's on top of the events in Venezuela, Mike. And so you got a women's, I think it's a
Oh,
women's
come
world
on.
world. You got a women's world 10-ball championship, and then you have the World 8-ball championship, Mike, that Predator announced in partnership with that what is it? The table manufacturer, and of course
Yalin?
Yalin, and then you got Venezuela, Mike, and yeah, it's right on top of it, Mike. And so I don't know if you knew that or not. You're just playing a little coy with me, but
No, you know what? I didn't notice the overlap in dates. You're talking 10 players. So it's not the end of the world. But
they
yeah,
left a lot of players out of the World 8-ball anyway. Let's just be honest about it. They left a
yeah.
lot of
But it's unfortunate just from a visibility and cachet standpoint for sure. So that's too bad. But realistic. Well, no, listen.
Yeah,
Realistically,
that's a shame.
I would bet that we know that Matchroom never announces anything until the ink's dry, right?
Yeah.
But I would bet that these dates have been pretty much these dates
For a while. Yeah.
since maybe before the Pro Billiard Series announced those World Championships in Venezuela.
1,000,000%. A million
Okay,
percent.
so
You can take
it's
that to the bank,
possible.
Mike.
So I don't want to hear right out of the gate these accusations that that they intentionally stepped on these other dates. Okay, just stop that.
Yeah, he didn't go that far. It was just more. I found the comment pretty funny. And listen, I hate to rain on anyone's parade here, or hurt any egos that may be out there. But if you tell me you're going to get a guaranteed whatever it is, 20 plus thousand, and you're going to be on the first Reyes Cup, that's going to be out there. It's history, Mike. I hate to
Yeah,
tell you, but they ain't those boys ain't playing the World 8-ball. You know,
yeah,
and so that's just the reality of it, and especially when it comes to the Asian players and
yeah.
the.
The Asian players flying to Venezuela for the World Eight
But
Ball.
what is that? What does that like? What do you think when it comes to that relationship and where it's at? Because we asked Emily yesterday to start off the show about the WPA, right?
It
You need to
depends
talk
on
with
how they
them.
want to play it. Do they want to play it as this was intentional to step on us? Then it just
But it's not,
widens the
right?
schism. Well, we're saying it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So it just it's going to fall out where it falls out.
It just adds more layers to the story, Mike. And
Well,
so
you want to add another layer to the WPA story?
yeah, come on.
Although everybody loves talking about the Reyes Cup, but Margaret, Dyer and Christina Tkach posted this morning a letter from the WPA,
Right.
saying that their spots in the 2025 World Games that were promised to them when they got banned from the 2021 / happened in 22 World Games
Right.
is no longer available.
So let's give some context of the story, Mike. So, when a few years ago when they had the World Games out in Birmingham, right?
Right.
Players had earned their right to compete in that event. Players like
including Margaret, Fedor, and Christina.
Right.
Correct.
Of course, because of the war that was happening, right? And what was the Polish, not Polish players, it was Belarusian and Russian athletes getting banned from the EPBF, right? They were no longer allowed to compete.
Well, the WPA banned. WPA followed the IOC and banned Russian, Belarusian players from any international competitions, right? So they lost their spot in the world games in Alabama that year. They got a letter from then President Ian Anderson at the time stating that it was unfortunate that happened and they would have a spot held for them in the 2025 games in China.
Right.
And now Ian is gone and they get a letter from the WPA saying, sorry, but there's been a change in plans. And because we lost some spots in the event, your invitation is no longer, valid. We're kind of yanking that.
You already basically saying we already shit on you once. We're just going to go out and shit on you one more time. You guys are already used to it. And, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's so the argument is that there were, that the International World Games Association reduced the number of spots that were available for the 10-ball competition.
But that should be their problem, not, and what I mean by the WPA's problem, not players who you've already, that they're however many spots you're given by the WPA based off of what you told those young athletes, right? Whatever many spots you got, you were already 3 less because those 3 spots were already gone and spoken for.
You would think that would be the proper way to handle it.
Common sense, right? Common sense and
right.
And just right. Just yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So, yes. It's really a shame because I remember talking to Margaret about how excited she was, how hard she had tried, same with Christina, to win the European Championship, to earn an automatic spot in the World Games, which is,
fast forward 3 years, Mike, that was a big fucking deal for them.
Yeah, it was a huge deal.
A really big, the world and their world was very different, and that was a really massive deal for them.
Yes,
to earn their right.
So, and then to be told, okay, don't worry about it, we got you covered next time, and then saying, whoops, we may have misspoke, is just, I understand that it's a tough predicament because they lost some spots allocated to 10-ball. So you've got to respond, you've got to answer to your federations about why their spots are going to get cut back now because of this. So it's not an easy situation. I just hate that these kids got the rug pulled out from under when a promise was made to them. And if you're the WPA, wouldn't you have sat in a room and said, you know what? Our street cred is not really high right now.
No.
So do we want to further bury ourselves by telling these kids, sorry, can't play? Or do we want to figure out a way to eat a little bit of shit with our federations around the world
because it's
to make
do what's right
make this right because we made a promise? Okay. The easiest thing for them to do was to renege on the promise. And so again, the WPA just doesn't seem to be able to get out of its own way when it comes to establishing some kind of goodwill and credibility with the players around the world. It's just,
No,
it's astonishing. I'm not saying it was an easy fix. I'm just saying you figure out some way. You don't come out of that room until you figure it out. Instead, they took the easy route, wrote a letter, and said, your spot's gone.
you do whatever you have to do because your word means something to you, or at least it should. But it doesn't to those self-serving assholes out there. And I'd say that to any single one of them who doesn't come out publicly and say that they were against it otherwise. Every single one of them, from Ishan to the top all the way down. Every single one of them, shame on you. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And you're right, Mike. Listen, they're just a group of fucking they're just an embarrassment to the sport is what they are. And you're right, they can't get out of their own way. They're not leaders in any capacity because leaders will do whatever it takes to make sure that the right thing is done.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. You know what, Mike? I'll listen. You saw this shit right here, buy and sell Q. Sometimes what happens is things mess up, and
You make good.
you make good on it. You know why? Because your reputation means something to you, even if that means it costs you thousands of dollars, which may not mean a lot to some people. But at times when I was doing this, it meant a lot to me because my reputation meant something to me. You know, they seem to have gotten lost amongst that, Mike. What they're really there to do. And if you ever put out anything saying you're there for the players or you're supporting players or you're advocates for the players, give me a fucking break with that. Nothing gets me more fired up than treating people like that, Mike. In that way, you know, it's listen. We like Margaret and Christina, but that's not the point. Do what's right, Mike. You know what I mean? Do what's right. Treat them the way that they deserve to be treated, and not because it's a good story, but because they earned it. Right? They earned the right to compete out there. And by the way, going and playing for a bunch of medals is terrible anyway. But that's not the, you know what I mean?
But this is the closest thing that pool players get to an Olympic field, to be with athletes in other sports, to be in an Olympic village type of atmosphere. I mean, that's something that's just cool. I've been to a couple. It's something that's really cool to see and be part of. So yeah, it would have pumped them up. And the saddest part of the whole thing, I talked to Margaret and she wasn't surprised. That's what is that?
What does that say about you? What does that say about the WPA?
Yeah, she just wasn't. She just wasn't surprised, and so it's just it's just such a shame. My heart goes out to Margaret and Christina and Fedor that this happened to them, and shame on the WPA for not being able to figure a way out of it. And save some face. They just took the shortcut, the easy road, whatever, and just too bad.
Mike, we've been dealing with the WPA at least on the show now for about a year and a half, somewhere around there. And I can't tell you,
feels longer, doesn't it?
It feels like a real long time. I feel like I've aged a little bit over this last year and a half. But, Mike, I don't understand how you can't get out of your own way like that, man, honestly. Consistently. Consistently how you cannot get out of your own way and you just make mistakes. And there's it's not one person. That's a group. It's a group.
And here's my issue with them that I've always had with them is they operate in a vacuum. And so it's this group of people who sit together in a room and they make these decisions talking to each other without talking to or listening or thinking about the people outside the room that they're in.
Yeah.
And so
they've gotten away with treating players like that for so long.
But it's that insulated way of making decisions that causes them to make so many ill thought out decisions because they don't listen to the outside world. They think that they've got all the answers. They think they're the smartest guys and they don't have to look outside the room that they're in And so that's how decisions like that are made. I mean, it's not even unique to pool or the WPA. You see that happening all the time in businesses or so, whatever. People get, they get caught up in a vacuum, and nothing outside their little world matters, and they're out of touch.
Yeah, but the world today, Mike, is that you can if you go online, you can get brought back to reality pretty quickly. And so especially those guys who are working so diligently on their marketing and um, exposure and whatever else, Mike. Right? We're now it's
I detect a
budgeted.
hint of sarcasm, Mike.
Nah, not for me, not for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Weird
look.
space. It is hubris. That's exactly what it is. It's hubris.
They they just deserve better,
Wired space.
and
Sorry.
and yeah, they
Weird space. Too bad.
they don't have any they don't have anyone to call on because that's what the WPA should do. You know, like the
Well,
WPA
that's
should
the
be
thing.
there.
Pick up a phone.
The W,
Pick up.
but
Get
no, no, no.
online.
But I'm saying
Talk
the
to somebody
WPA,
else.
the WPA should be their advocate, and instead, they're the jerks. They're the ones bringing down these types of decisions consistently.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, Mike? See if we can get them on. See if we can get them on. Let me talk more with them about it and just
Given your choice of vernacular in the last 10 minutes, I doubt very much they're going to be rushing to get on a live show with you.
look. That's just the fact that it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I haven't had coffee yet. That's all. I'm just
So
what I
you
mean?
wouldn't call
I
him an
didn't
asshole at 3 in the afternoon. Speechless.
yeah. Yeah. All right, Mike. World Pool Masters is going on despite all this news happening. Yesterday was a very big day, Mike. I picked two guys to make it to the final. Both of them are now out of the World Pool
Yeah,
Masters.
you're running pretty hot.
Well, I didn't go chalk like you did. Okay, I wanted to go
Well,
a little
but
bit,
so
a little bit
far,
off
let's
the
see. There have been 5 matches. It's been chalk straight up.
chalk across the board, Mike. And it started
Yeah.
off. What was the first match of the day? It was Jason, the J match. Jason and no. It was
No, the first match of today was Big
Filler.
Co.
No.
First match yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Filipino.
Big matchup. Lived
Big
up to the hype. Lived up to the hype, Mike. Exactly what I was hoping for to some extent. The storyline was kind of surprising early on. Filler just could not find his footing on that table at all. At all, he could not find his footing. Kachi jumps up to him for 1. And then from there, smart decision making from Filler and impeccable cue ball just got him back, clawed his way back into the match, Mike. And then, of course, Filler does what Filler does when it's around that 6-6 kind of range and just
Shut the door.
shut the door.
Yeah.
But from Kachi, I thought he played pretty well, Mike. Obviously, still some growing pains there. I don't think he's 100% just yet, but even his 80% game is still pretty solid. I'm glad that we got to see him back on a matchroom stage, Mike, personally. And so I'm excited to see what the future holds for him, especially because he's going to be in contention for a lot of these events we were just talking about previously. He's going to be in contention for this Reyes Cup, and I saw him comment on the post, talking about being excited and hoping to play. So he's one of the players for sure I'd love to see in that competition when it comes to the European team.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch any of the match at all, Mike?
I did not.
No. Okay. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We will no, I'm just kidding.
I saw the scores. I know that there, some plays were, but no, it has been kind of chalk going through. I mean, Jason ran
so.
over.
I don't think Jason was chalk though, Mike. I mean, I know he was a flavor of the day, but I don't think that was chalk. Like if you were before,
I mean, chalk just the favorites. Every favorite one.
Yeah.
Every betting favorite one.
Yeah, looked like lost out there. Everything was going wide. He was not used to playing in that environment.
Single elimination, one match on TV, fast table, all that kind of stuff. You don't have time to get into gear. It
was a race to 9.
It's still a race. It's a race to 9, but it's still a single elimination on a TV table. Your first match of the tournament. So
Yeah.
it's a little tougher than normal. So,
Well, it's
but
not
yeah,
a
you
tournament
can.
where you don't have another bullet. That's
Right,
your lifeline. That's all you
right.
got.
That's all
Yeah.
you got. And so you know that from the lag. So it probably doesn't take too long if things aren't going well for you to start to take on water and start to panic
Oh, it
and
did.
whatever. So it's going to happen. We're going to get some runaways here. We're going to get some runaways with some of these really juicy matchups going forward.
Happened
Probably.
today. Koping Chung steamrolls Victor.
Yeah.
Koping Yi steamrolls David. You
Yeah.
know, two guys who again, that might be October December kind of matchup. With either one of those players.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
you know what I mean. But the Cole brothers look really good, like we expect. Jason, listen, that dude at spots in that match, he looked like Moscone Jason. You know,
Yeah. Well,
and
the guy,
especially
he almost looks too thin. I mean, he talk about being in playing shape. Jason is dialed in
it's the focus that goes along with it,
physically and
Mike.
mentally, right?
You,
Physically and mentally, he is dialed in right now, and it's just a matter of um, again that focus, not being pulled in too many
yeah.
different directions with too many things going on in his life, which doesn't seem to ever affect him anyways. So Jason, when he runs hot, he runs real hot.
When you're staying sharp with, all your diet, your mental, everything,
Right.
boy, and then you have that level of execution, like you can see heights that you've never reached before. You know, and so yeah, I mean, Jason's looking like a man on a mission for sure. Again, Yap gave him a lot of opportunity along with that,
Yeah.
and so I don't want that to be underestimated. But kudos to Jason for finishing the job. And there were spots, man, in that match with Jay where I thought, man, he's looking like he's playing on 5-inch pockets, like if you see him run those straight pull racks, you know what I mean? Where like
Yeah.
once he's in line, he's just two
Yeah.
stroking things and just, you know what I mean? That's what he
Yeah.
looked like, Mike. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he looked like, where he could do no wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was completely comfortable with that table underneath him. And yeah, I want to see who's he playing, Mike. Do you know who's his next opponent? I think he plays.
Yeah. I had that up there.
Oh, the winner of Shane and Huang is who he plays.
Okay.
So if either one of them, I think will be a much better matchup, especially just considering they're coming off a win. If nothing else, obviously we all want to see SVB and Jason play. I think that's about that's about all we can ask for, right? That's like the match that we'd be looking forward to
Yeah.
outside
Be a
of
great
a
match.
Fedor versus Jay matchup in the Final Four. So um, I think the matchups today. Let me see what Adam told me, Mike, and then we can kind of get your thoughts
Well, you
on.
got Fedor and Mario.
Okay,
You've got Shane and Clock, and you've got FSR and who are we missing?
FSR and Fran versus James to start off the evening. I
Oh,
think. Oh no,
Ranis. Yeah.
I don't know if it's in this order, but yeah. So let's start off with the Fran versus James matchup. Mike, thoughts
Big expectations on
or
James. A
whom?
lot of
Okay,
a lot of people. James included, the Filipinos. They're all big on James, and um, Fran. Fran is which Fran coming in? I mean, he's not been the guy stealing tournaments left and right like was a year or two ago, but he's still Francisco, so he's still he's still a favorite in the match. But James, yeah, there's a lot of high hopes on him carrying the Filipino flag here. Big
means a
Reyes
lot.
Cup announcement today. I'm sure that
Added pressure.
that's not lost on him for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he comes out, whether he comes out loose and freewheeling or whether he comes out tight.
I agree with you. I think this may end up. Fran's going to be the favorite, right, Mike? I'm guessing on the betting line. So
Yeah,
this may be the matchup where you might see a quote unquote underdog win outright. So not to say that Fran's gonna, I think Fran's game is poised to lose or set up to lose. I mean, but I just think James can break the ball really well, And I don't even remember that semifinal of the World Pool Masters a year ago that you were mentioning, Mike. Obviously we know his success in the World Cup of Pool, but if he's picking up steam like that in the few opportunities that he gets, why would you think he's not going to continue that right now?
Right.
They and they know each other. That World Cup of Pool run this past year, their very first matchup was against Team Spain. So
Right.
he knows Fran.
Right.
I'm real pumped to see this one, especially because of the day. You know what I mean? Like the one who loves stories wants me to see James win. Obviously, I'm a big Francisco fan though, so I'll be tuning in for that for sure. Duong versus SVB. I know we touched base on this a little bit with Scott, Mike, but I know you're probably riding the SVB train. But is there a chance? Is there a chance there's
Of
another
course, there's
upset?
a chance. He's had SVB's number. I mean, that's he was a wild card picked at the end because of
And
the
Shane
Vietnam.
knows that, by the way. Shane's that type of guy. Shane knows.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a wild card who came in at the last second as Vietnamese. Throw them a bone. Because of everything that's going on in that market these days,
Right.
and that's probably the guy Shane didn't want to see pop up in his side of the bracket.
At least
So
not one to get your wheels greased, Mike.
yeah, right. So yeah, that'll be an interesting match. See, I expect Shane to be Shane in that match, but if he gets behind, then you could see a little different Shane. You could see a Moscone Shane.
Shrugging his shoulders a little bit. Well, Huang can come with some big pressure shots. Like I don't mean big.
And he's gonna feel pretty.
Around.
He's gonna feel pretty good coming into this match, knowing that he's got a little bit of Shane's head.
Let me tell you, out in Vietnam, their Vietnamese social media page is huge, and they got a ton of fans. So there's some pressure outside, like within Vietnam, right?
Right.
And especially knowing how you've performed against the guy. Shane does know the record because Shane is that type of competitor and he remembers all the
Yeah.
losses like no other.
Yeah.
And so I think it sets itself up for a great matchup that maybe on paper, if you don't know the name or recognize the name, you may think, as Mike's checking his bank. Uh, but
Should have drawn again. Son of a bitch.
there's a potential for a really box office matchup, and that guy Huang is like he doesn't do anything exciting. He just stays in line, and once he's in line, he's just ABC. He just connects the dots. It's got this like Warren Kiamko style where it's just like one rail position on everything, but he can come with it, Mike. He can come with some big ones, and you've seen him on big stages, big major stages where because I know I probably bet on Shane where I remember, but it's like, you think, okay, Shane's stealing, he's probably like a 2 or 3 game favorite. Nope. The guy's got the potential to win outright. So if you're an American fan, this is definitely one of the trap matches in this event.
Yeah.
But I want to see SVB and Shaw, so I'm rooting for SVB. Can Mario get it done against Fedor, Mike?
I gotta go chalk on that one. Which
I thought you were gonna hit me with the nope.
Yeah. So yeah, no. And I would look forward to seeing Fedor against Albin, as opposed
Agreed.
to Mario against Albin for the 900th time, where Mario has no shot. So yeah, I think Fedor. Fedor's had a little bit of time off. He was in Moscow, got to spend some time at home, see his family. Hopefully he's loose and relaxed, and I'd like to see him make a good run here.
Mario, my man, I got a lot of love for your game, buddy. Picked you a lot of times, like I mentioned before, to go win an event.
Who else did you pick a lot of times, Mike?
Max, who also got steamrolled, who got steamrolled. That's like me being a fan, though, and I take that back. That's me respecting their game too, not just being a fan.
Yeah, no, obviously, I respect Mario's game, as
absolutely.
much as anybody's. I love Mario as a guy, as a player, as a
absolutely,
for his talent level, all that stuff.
No doubt.
But
on every one of those topics, but
you gotta call him like you see him.
You gotta call balls and strikes, and that man He's good enough to be at the dance, good enough to be, at the plate with the bat in his hand, ready for a swing. But you strike out more often in those big moments than you should. And eventually that door for opportunity is going to get closed shut, right? The competition's only getting stiffer.
Right.
So you're not going to get this may be one of the last World Pool Master events that you get invited to if you don't perform. The last thing you want to do, even if, well, I think at this point there's no moral victories here, right? You got to figure out a way to scrap and claw and come away with the win if you're Mario, because this is a big win. This is a momentum win. This is something that can really springboard you for the rest of the season. And you need big wins under your resume when you're competing for a 5th spot on Team Europe or a 3 spot or whatever. You know what I mean? You need to have signature wins amongst the year. This could be one of them, right? This is your time, right? Right. We also mentioned the fact that there's probably going to be a World Cup of Pool team assembled out of these. Well, not probably. There is going to be a World Cup Pool team assembled between these 3 guys. And I don't think Albin's a lock. I don't think Albin is a lock. So, if you're a guy like Mario, you can solidify your spot, especially considering, Max showed some heart yesterday against Albin. I mean, showed a lot of heart against Albin.
Yeah, he did.
But you got to figure it out, Mario. You got to figure it out, But I think Fedor's going to win. So, I'll be tuning in, Mike. I'm assuming they're going to start again at 6. Do we have any kind of, which will be 11 a.m. here?
Yes,
Central?
Correct. 11 a.m. They'll come back on for 3 matches this afternoon for us, evening for them over there. And respond to Ed. Yes, I do have a DAZN subscription, but I was in the car yesterday and I tried to watch it in the car, and it told me that my sign-in was wrong. So it's just DAZN being DAZN. So we'll see if we can get that figured out today.
Yeah, you got plenty of time in order to do it. Tell you what, Mike, this is a pretty good show. We haven't done one this early in the morning in quite some time, but there's just so much stuff going on, like genuinely good stories within pool. Obviously, the Christina Margaret situation is heartbreaking.
Not a good story, but a story.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's. I like the direction. I like that pool's got a lot going on. Like the fan in me loves that we have all this stuff going on in the pool world.
Yeah. I mean, are you kidding? We're gonna have. It's just starting to amp up now. To me, this is like the kickoff event for a big last 8 months of this year.
We're going to go into majors here pretty soon, starting with the UK Open.
Jesus. Just as you say majors, Carl Boyes says hello.
He peeks his little head in there, don't he? Right? Did you say majors? By the way, that was the best moment of that interview with Emily. Was like Raymond said, Carl just dropping the grenade,
just kind of walking by, tossing a grenade, and keep walking,
and then just dipped out. But no, listen, there's a lot of Filipinos that I've seen say, "Hey, I'm going to the UK Open," right?
Yes.
And so now that makes that event even more. This announcement today just adds a whole new level of scoreboard watching and excitement and seeing the moving game. Listen, we went back and forth all year long when it comes to who could be in what spot. I'm just adding the Asian players too. It just makes me that much more thrilled and looking forward to sweating matches.
It does. It makes scoreboard watching. It adds another level to it, right? Last year, all we watched was like Americans and Europeans. Now you watch the Asian points going up.
Look at that. So you got Carl in the chat. You got Adam in the chat. You got all Team Matchroom in there. Just throwing some. I tried to save you, Mike. I tried to transition out for you and change the topic, and Emily just was not having any of it. It was one of the better moments.
We can have a whole show devoted to that, and I will bring.
Weren't we going to do that one time?
We will have my whole spreadsheet, We tried that last year when you guys were arguing about Derby City, and it was such a bloodbath that you guys bailed out after about 10 minutes.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we just have a debate show on what's a major and what's not a major, and we can just finally classify them on this unofficial list that we
Yes,
put together.
we will come
You
up
know,
with our own list.
Mike's got his own criteria. Fran ain't a Hall of Famer. The guy's just he's on he's off the deep end. He's off the deep end already for sure. Mike, are you going to be around the next couple of days?
I will. I tell you what, if you're having Emily on tomorrow to talk about the Reyes Cup, I will. I will be wherever I need to be, whenever I need to be there.
We will have her on
I
tomorrow.
got questions. I
think we're gonna shoot for maybe around the same time, Mike. Maybe around between that 7 to 9 a.m. range here in the U.S. So
Beautiful.
make sure and keep your notifications on. I'm gonna try to get some players on too. So Matchroom's done a really good job of staying in contact and going back and forth. So we're gonna try to get some players on that continue to move forward in this tournament as well. So we appreciate all of you guys for hanging out, especially you, Carl. You made my day yesterday. Appreciate you more than ever, buddy. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us this morning. Reyes Cup is here. World Pool Masters in full swing. Make sure and sweat the action if you can, depending on what part of the world that you're in. Check out Matchroom Pool to see where it's located. So, Mike, we'll see you soon, and everyone else, have a good morning.
Have a great day.
Oh boy. Okay, if I